as I remember to hit record for, so that we can then post them back to the District 11 YouTube page. And anybody that needs to go back and look at it, or if you want to share the link with other folks that weren't able to make these, you can absolutely do that. We want to make sure that the word gets out there and the training gets out there. That's the most important thing that we can possibly do. I am going to mute everybody. When you have questions, please feel free, just unmute yourself and ask away. If you have met me, you know that I am not the most formal person you are going to ever meet in your life. I am much more about the conversation. I would much rather have us have a conversation about this than I would somebody be worried about talking over me. Please talk over me when we go through, as we go through this throughout the day. We cool with that? Everyone has questions, you can just ask right away. Thumbs up if we're all cool with that. Fantastic. All right, very good. So I'm going to start sharing screen. And everyone can see that I am in Toastmasters International, correct? I am hoping that by now, and I'm pretty confident with this, with the group that's on here, I am imagining everybody right now who's on the call has already gone into Toastmasters International and has created their own login. They've already registered for the TI website. Am I correct in that? That everybody knows how to get to this point, yes? Very good, all right. So if everybody knows how to get here, there are two ways to really get into Basecamp. And I'm gonna go with what I think is the easier way. Instead of going through all of the technical ways that you could possibly get there, why don't we go with easiest so that everyone can follow the path of least resistance. Valerie, I think this will make your life a little bit easier if we just go with the easiest one instead of going with all of them. So the easiest way to get into Pathways into Basecamp, if you click on the welcome whomever you are little logo up there, it will allow you to go into your profile. And on your profile, you know, down here, it has all of your educational awards, your address, the clubs that you're in. But at the top here, three very important blocks. Go to Basecamp, choose a new path, and the guide to the navigator. These are the three most important blocks that you will need as a Basecamp manager. So I want to start by, I am picking a club. In order to go into Basecamp, you need to tell TI which club you're going into manage as a Basecamp manager. The reason for that is many of us are in multiple clubs. I know that I'm a Basecamp manager right now for two different clubs because I am a president of one club and I'm a VPE of another club. So I'm a Basecamp manager in two different clubs. If you're not a Basecamp manager in multiple clubs, just make sure you're picking the one in which you are. So I could go in and click on Summits and click on Leadership Outreach Club, of which I am just a member. And if I went to Basecamp Manager, it would not take me anywhere. So make sure you pick the club in which you want to go. We're going to pick Fort Wayne Storytellers purely because there are very few members in the club and it's easiest for examples without a lot of excess information on the screens. To go to the Basecamp Manager, we are going to go and click the Basecamp Manager login and hit go. This is amazingly fast compared to last night. This is wonderful. All right, now through here, there are three different things you can do as you go into the Basecamp Manager site: pending requests, track members' progress, and watch tutorials. Basecamp managers, there's three of you within every single club. The president, vice president of education, and secretary are the three Basecamp managers for each club. Now, what does that mean? Because it sounds like it is a really complicated and it sounds like a really big deal. Like, I'm a Basecamp manager. If I don't do right, the people that are on paths are going to die of exposure. And I don't even know where to find a Sherpa to help them out. So you would think this is like a really big deal, right? And I'm sure that you've probably heard stories about how confusing it is at times also. I'm here to tell you this is not that big of a deal and it is not that confusing. We're just going to take you through the couple of things that Basecamp managers really need to do. So the first thing Basecamp managers need to do is you need to be able to help members move from level to level within their paths. And you do that by approving pending requests. When a member finishes a level, An email is going to be generated, and it's going to come to all 3 Basecamp managers, and it's going to say, Valerie Mack has finished level 1 in her path, engaging humor, and she now needs to have you approve that so she can move on to level 2. As you do that, you just, unfortunately, the links in it usually don't work, but if you come in here, you can see right down in here, pending requests, right in this one right here, you can go in and do that. Now, when do we actually go in and approve people's levels? And you notice I'm saying levels. So let's clear up a little bit of a confusion that exists sometimes between when do we approve things. We don't approve after every single project. A project is basically a speech. For most times, it's just a speech. There are some projects that are more involved in just giving one speech. Level 1 is a great example of that with the evaluation project, where you give a speech, you get evaluated, you give a speech again using the information you got from the evaluation, and then you yourself practice an evaluation. So sometimes a level can be 4 or 5 different steps to finish a project, but generally projects are just a speech for the majority of, especially levels 1, 2, and 3. As you get to level 4 and 5, some of them are more in depth. You have high performance leadership projects, you have blogs that are in there. You have all kinds of great things that take a little bit longer. But as you're doing this, you're waiting until somebody finishes a level. So within each individual paths, how many levels are there within each individual path? Feel free to unmute. How many levels? 5, right? Just 5 levels. I saw a bunch of hands go up. 5. Either we're saying stop or we know the answer is 5. I'm going with 5. Yes, 5 levels. So you only have to approve each person 5 times per path. How many paths can somebody work on at one time? What is the most amount of paths that a person can work on at one time? I see Valerie saying 1 and 2. Lou is giving field goal post signs, which I'm guessing means 11. Correct, Lou? Is that what I'm thinking is your field goal post signs? 11. What else? Are there any guesses out there between 1 and 11? No other guesses? How many think?
All 5 concurrently.
5 concurrently, okay. The right answer is Lou's. An individual can buy all 20 paths and work on all 20 paths at one time if you want to. There is no need to just do a path, finish a path, and then go on from there. I'm going to say, hold on for a second, because of course the noon meeting means that the grass cutters have just showed up. Let me close my window. So sorry. It's the thing with doing lunchtime meetings. Sometimes folks come that you're not expecting. A member can work on as many paths as they want at one time. So you could have somebody in your club, if they wanted to, do 11 icebreakers in a row. There's no need to do that, but they could do that if that's the way that they wanted to manage their Pathways journey. Nothing against that whatsoever. You're going to approve not every project, but every level someone completes. So 5 completions per path. We all cool with that to when we approve stuff? All right. When you get the email that says we need to approve, we go into pending requests. Within pending requests, you will see, let me drag this to over here. All right, you will see there is one in Fort Wayne Storytellers, there is one path or one level that is in here for someone to approve. It is mine. It is for level 3, completion, engaging humor. If I click on this, it will take me to the details of what the engaging humor is. And then over on the very far right, I have 2 options. I can either approve or I can deny. Approve or deny. So everyone sees where I am right here with the approve and the deny, and everyone's comfortable with how I got into here, correct? Everyone's following along? Yes. All right. Now, I cannot go in and approve this one. Why can I not approve this individual level right here? What is keeping me from approving that?
It's your own.
It's
your
my own.
own.
Exactly. Just like back in the day, all of 4 months ago, when we were VPEs and we could approve stuff from CC and CL manuals, we couldn't approve our own stuff then either. There needs to be some sort of a second party system to be able to communicate, yes, this stuff was done. Now, when you are going through this, what are some reasons why you might either want to deny it or maybe wait in order to approve somebody's level here? Why might you want to wait, first of all? Why would you want to wait to approve it? Denise, well, why do you think you might want to wait?
Well, first of all, for me, it becomes an ethical issue if you're approving your own, number one.
Not for your own, but for anybody. So if you were a member of my club and you submitted this to me, and instead of it saying Scott Brown there, it had your name, and I was going in as the VPE or as the president or as the secretary, why would I maybe just wait to approve it? What might I want to do before I hit approve?
I wanted to verify it.
Yes, exactly. You want to verify. Most of us come from clubs that are not massive clubs. Like, I don't know of any 80-member clubs that are active within District 11. So we probably have a good idea of who's coming to our clubs and giving speeches. Here's the one time that you really want to make sure that you're doing some research before you approve it. Say that you have a member, and his name is Scott, and he came to your club one time, and you've not seen him since, and he gave his icebreaker. And now all of a sudden you've never seen him again, but in your approval, there is an approval for a level 1, even though you've only seen him one time. Is there a way that that could be valid? Do you think there's a way out there that that could be a valid request? Stephanie, what do you think?
If he's a member of another club.
Exactly. So there are multiple people or members of multiple clubs, especially while we're doing Zoom. Our only commute time is only from our living room to our office. So it's easier now for us to join other clubs. We have a little bit more time on our hands and more access to other clubs. They may just be spreading their levels out amongst clubs. Now, why would a member want to spread levels out amongst clubs? Can a member get credit for DCP points in a club if you submit 2 of the same levels in one club in a year?
Yeah.
You cannot.
Mm-hmm.
So remember I said that you could work on 11 paths? So say I did 11 paths and I did 11 level 1s. I could either wait 11 years or 11 terms, or I'm sorry, 11 years to get credit for all of those, or I would need to give them to 11 different clubs. So very possible, it's an extreme example, but very possible you have a member of other clubs, has done stuff in other clubs, and you just want to verify they've actually done that. And we'll go into where you can actually verify that they've actually done some of those things and where you can find some of that information. All right, so say that you've verified, oh yes, this is a person who's a member of other clubs. We know that they've done all these speeches, or maybe they've just been in our club, we know it. And when we hit this little completion check mark, this approve check mark, since I can't approve my own, I can't actually show you the next screen, but it's going to come up and it's going to give you an opportunity to confirm, yes, I do want to approve this. And do you want to send any notes back to the person? Great opportunity just to type in that little congratulations, great job, especially for newer members or folks just starting out on their path. Great opportunity to give them a little feedback, hit submit, an email is then generated. It goes back to the member. It goes back to the Basecamp manager saying this level has been approved. That's all there is to being able to approve a level in Basecamp. Sounds a lot harder than what it actually is, doesn't it? So this is the only thing, this is the number one thing Basecamp managers do, is be able to approve levels to help people move between levels in pathways. Why is it important? Why is this?
All of a sudden, I have a question,
Sure,
Scott.
Stephanie, go for it.
Does that automated email go out to all 3 Basecamp managers?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
I've gotten them in multiple positions, so my assumption is that it's still going to all 3. It used to go to all 3, since I still get them as a president and a VPE. I can't believe that they would just leave the secretary off the list. That seems silly. So yes, everyone should get that. Denise, yes.
My question is, since I am approve, or does it matter as long as I?
Hold that question for 1 second.
Okay.
All right, just hold that for 1 second. We're about to go right there. Valerie.
I have a question. So you can, if you're working, say, on one path,
Mhm.
you could give completion level of, or completion of one level to one club and then the next level to another club.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It works the same way the old advanced communicators did. That you could complete an advanced communicator manual level or designation for one club, and then when you finish you might do the same thing. You might get 2 ACBs and give one to Club A and one to Club B. It works the exact same way with the levels.
Okay.
Exactly the same way. If you are progressing through, though, you can give your level 1 to your home club. You can give your level 2 to your home club. You can give your level 3 to your home club. Just one at a time, though, throughout the course of a year. Make sense? You cool with that? All right. Now, Denise, we're going to go to your question in 1 second here. So why is this slightly challenging here when you look at the dates on here to Amazon's here. The package has arrived. Yay, dogs. We must warn the humans. So why would this be a little bit challenging for the dates here as to why this, as to what's happening here? Why is this probably not a best case scenario? What do you see the date as when this was submitted? Is this recent?
It's old.
It's old. It's March, right? It's March. Now, because it's March and it hasn't been approved, can I move on to my next level to get credit for any speeches in level 4 before this is approved? I cannot. I cannot get credit for speeches in level 4. I can see them, I can do them, but I can't get credit for them. So that's a difference there. They've opened it up so we can now see all of the speeches that are in our paths, but I can't move on and open up level 4 to actually complete a speech and then get credit for level 4 until Alice gives me credit for level 3. So I wasn't necessarily concerned about it because I'm kind of flying through both paths here, and it was okay for me just to hang on for a second. And then once I realized we're going to do this, this was good just to be able to show how to actually do this. So Alice will be giving me credit shortly after we're done with all of these. So that's where we go with this. Yes, Valerie.
So then once you're given credit for level 3, you can retroactively be given credit for what you did on level 4?
If you've already given the speeches, yes, you can go in and complete if you've already done the evaluations for them. So here's what happens. If you're going through a path, you're unlocking all of those speeches in the path as you go through it. I personally saved all of those to my computer. So I have all of the projects, all the evaluation forms for that path, all the options that were in there. So now if I go through my second path, a lot of them are the same. I can print out the evaluation form. I can send that to my evaluator. We're doing everything that we would normally do throughout this, through the project. With only thing is I can't complete the project. So I could be giving level 4 speeches, but just not completing the paperwork for them. So yes, you can then go back and as it gets approved, then you can move forward in the process. Yes, you can absolutely do that. Now here's the question that Denise had. Who should approve these? Who should approve these? Who's the #1 approver, should be the #1 approver for all of Basecamp managers for all the levels that are being completed? Who's the #1 approver?
VPE.
VPE, absolutely right. VPE is the #1 approver. Who should approve the VPE stuff?
President,
Or
secretary.
does it matter? Not at all. Can you set up your own system in your own club to which one works best for you? Absolutely. You need to find the flow that makes sense for your individual club. Every club is different. Your secretary may be the most responsible person in your club, and you know that person's not going to let anything fall through the cracks. That is a great person as the second approver. And maybe your president is the most responsible person in your club and nothing falls through the cracks. Then let the president be the second approver. It doesn't matter. Work it out amongst yourselves within your own individual clubs to how it works best for you. The only caveat to that, VPE can't approve their own, president can't approve their own, secretary can't approve their own. So you need a second person to be able to approve it. So you don't get this situation with one sitting there since March because I can't approve my own. So does that make sense to how we figure out who's going to approve it, where we're going to approve it? All right, are we comfortable with this process? Thumbs up if we're good with this one. Yes? Fantastic. All right, moving on. If you go back, the second option that was here, member progress. How many of you have gone into this member progress tab before, or did you just see it and were like, I don't really know what that is? Valerie, I was with you. Even though I was a Basecamp manager, even though I was a guide and an ambassador, I never went into this for months just because I didn't think I needed it. And at the time, I didn't. Here is what member progress does. How many of you use either Easy Speak or Free Toast Host to schedule and track meetings? A couple of you. If you notice in the history of Free Toast Host, you can see when members complete projects within there. I personally think that Easy Speak is the easiest one and the most complete one to be able to track how members are progressing through levels. It does a fantastic job as long as you're entering when they give speeches outside of an Easy Speak club, as long as you're tracking those. But I think Easy Speak does a great job with being able to track visitors to your club, with being able to track how you're advertising and who's responding to things. A lot of usability within Easy Speak that I don't think it's talked about enough. In time, we'll be trying to roll that out on a broader scale to help the district as a whole use that tool more effectively. But everything that's in there is also in here, in tracking. Now, let me move all of your heads over here for a little bit. There we go. All right. Within the reports, if you go up to the report section, you see the drop down. You can do standard reports, you can do customized reports, you can do dashboards. I prefer dashboards. And it also allows you to pick which level you want what you want to look at. Do you want to look at just individual progress, individual level completion, path progress? You can look at any of these sorts of things that you're looking for. But for ease of sake, let's just look at individual progress. And the way we get to this is really simple. If you notice where my cursor is right now, just below my cursor, if I move it down, a button shows up. Hidden, found, hidden, found, hidden, found. You see where I am right here? Valerie, you see this one right here? Okay. There was a confused look on your face. So if you just go into here and you click the drop-down box, you can do three things. You can either view the details of it, you can export it to Excel, or you can refresh the page. All of them, because this is pulling all data from Toastmasters. This takes a little while. We're not going to go in and refresh the page. I had done that just before we got on the call, but it's going to pull this information up. And you can, if you want to, you can export to Excel also. The reason why that's good, if you have clubs that want to keep a physical binder, a physical report of how people are progressing, because some people like the physicality of reporting and of papers, and that's perfectly fine. It gives you an opportunity and an option to be able to do this as well. So you can either view it, you can export it. If you look at this, level 1 in progress, what this is telling me is that through all of this information, so level 1 in progress, level 2 in progress, levels 3 in progress, everywhere that we're in progress here, it shows how many people are in progress for each one of these. So this gives you a nice snapshot overall of where everybody is. But if I go to reports and I pick standard reports, this gives me a couple of different options. I can look at pending requests, where we just were, in order to see what pending requests were out there. We can see a training progress pie chart, because bar graphs aren't good enough. Sometimes we just need a pie chart to help us get through the day. And lastly, a training status summary. This looks at how many times people have started stuff but stopped stuff. So for the club I'm in, it doesn't really apply because we don't have anything that's just stopped right now. We don't have anything that's just, nobody's has joined and hasn't done anything else through this. But it gives you a couple of other options through there. In reports also, you can also look for custom reports. And here is where you can download, you can create whatever kind of report you might want. So if you want to play around in here, you can create a bunch of different reports. I have personally found there to be no need for any of this. It is really cool. It gives you a lot of access to things, but as a Basecamp manager, it's really not necessary. There's really nothing that we do that is so complicated that you can't figure stuff out just from the base reports that are out there. So we go back to reports, go to dashboards. You get used to the spinning circle on a regular basis. And it's going to eventually take us back to the first report that we were on here, which showed us where we were for our club. Very good. All right. So if I do this, and let's say that I want to view the details of my report. Now I need to go into New Share and I believe it's this one. No, it's this one, sorry. All right, so this is now, so you saw where I clicked, correct? No, all right, Valerie, we'll go back and we'll click again for you, okay? When you go into the individual reports, you can scroll down and you can see by person now. Both of us that are on pathways within our club, it shows exactly where we've been. So I've completed level 1 visionary humor, I've completed level 1 engaging humor, and Alice has completed level 1 innovative planning. Then it goes on to the icebreaker. And it does this for each one of the projects within each level. So this is broken down by person to who's completed what. This is one of those good places to be able to go. So if you see somebody who you don't know if they've actually done the work yet or not, this will show you when they completed things. If you look at some of the dates, if you go into here and look at some of the specifics on some of these, you'll notice that if you have the dates that come up, they're all the same date. They probably didn't do it because someone probably didn't give 4 speeches on Tuesday. It's probably not what happened. But it's going to give you a better idea of how people are progressing through their individual paths. So does this all make sense to what this shows?
Yeah,
Yes?
Scott,
Yes.
I have a
Stephanie.
question for you because
Yes.
I've actually done this. I exported it to Excel because I wanted to start tracking for this
Oh,
year.
Okay.
But I have people who have been in multiple clubs that do not show up. And I'm assuming that they last signed in through the other club. And so I'm not going to see it until they
Correct.
sign in and choose this club.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is absolutely correct. Kind of the same way that if we go into Basecamp and we go to the wrong club, we can't see stuff. It all looks by club. You're absolutely right. This does give fortunately, it does give you some historical information. So if you have a member that's in multiple clubs, you can always just do the way we used to do it. We can ask them questions. It's really simple. Like we know these people. We can, shockingly, we can talk to them also.
I did, and I actually got an answer.
Oh my goodness. So you can ask them the questions of when they completed stuff. You can check with other clubs and make sure that they're doing those things. They can look up this information for you as well. The communication is really important. It's really about, as a communication organization, it's really about the communication. So this gives you a good history though of what's happened within your own individual club though. So you're good with what this shows?
Information get put on here to begin with?
This is just a summary of when individuals go into their individual paths and as they're clicking through a path and they complete a path, this is pulling the information if they were going into, so right now I'm in Fort Wayne Storytellers. If I have a member like Alice Runyon who's in Fort Wayne Storytellers and she picked that club as she was completing her project, it will show where she completed it. So we don't have to do any input of this. This is just grabbing all the information sitting out there in Pathways and putting it in a nice little user-friendly format for us.
So, but if the member doesn't log in and do this, then it will never show up.
If the member logs into a different club, so say Alice Runyon, who is a member of this club, is also a member of your club. If she logs into your club and does something, I'm not going to see it on here. If she logs into my club and does something, you're not going to see it on yours.
And if she doesn't log in at all,
She can't do anything. If she doesn't log in, she can't go through Pathways in the first place. So there's a record, there's a electronic record of it somewhere for some club. It just depends which one she chose to go in to give credit to for that individual project or where she was. Does that make sense, Margaret?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Very good. All right. So we're good with this screen. We understand where we go, how to use this. Yes? I am going to close this one. And now I have to go back and share again. Share screen. All right. So Valerie, the way that I got there, I went to reports, right? I went to standard reports. Oh, sorry, wrong. I went to dashboard. I went to dashboard. And if you look, while this is going through here, there are tutorials that you can watch through here also that are Toastmasters created videos and trainings to help you understand different parts of Pathways. It'll help you through the paths individually as well as that too. Then if you go into this little drop-down box, so we went into dashboard. From here, we view details. So Valerie, you go into reports, dashboard, and then this little hidden button right here. We click on that and we go to view details, and that's where we got that second report. So everyone's comfortable with how we got to where we were? Does that make sense to everyone? Valerie, you good? You're not one of my 5 right now, so I can't see you.
Yes, I'm
All right.
fine. And
Very cool.
I'm looking through it on my iPad
Okay.
on Great Lakes as well. So
Perfect. All right. Very good. So we're comfortable with the individual reporting and how all of this stuff works. Yes?
Yes.
yes.
All right. Those are technically, those are the biggest parts of being a Pathways manager or a Basecamp manager. That's the most important things that you will do is make sure people are progressing through their levels, helping them get through their levels, and figuring out where people are and just approving things. So I am going to go out of here and we're going to go back. I'm going to stop share. I'm going to go back to Toastmasters. All right. There are a couple of things that Basecamp managers do that aren't on here that are really important though, that are very, very important to how we're using Pathways. Number one thing, how many of us joined Toastmasters for the exact same reason? Probably not, right? We probably all had this individual thing that drew us into Toastmasters, where we saw value in the educational system to help us learn how to do something that we can go take out there, right? As a Basecamp manager, the number one thing that we have to do is to help draw those people into the educational system and get them signed up for Pathways in the first place. Have to get them signed up for Pathways in the first place. Before everything was on this little box right here, how did people get their CCs and CL manuals when they joined Toastmasters? There's something that we had to do?
Club Central.
What was that, Nancy?
Showed up
Club
in their
Central.
mail.
Right, and they showed up in the mail. So when somebody first joined, you remember getting those packages in the mail that you're like, oh, neat, I got manuals. And they just kind of got sent to us, right? Like if we didn't physically, once we entered them as a member, we didn't have to physically do much in order to get them their training materials. We had to get them set up with a mentor and explain this stuff and all of that. Like, why do we shake hands all the time? Why might there be a bell in the club? Is Clarence getting his wings every 4 minutes? Like, what's happening within our club? Why are there little votes? I don't understand that. What's an odd counter? What's a grammarian? All of those things we have to still explain to them, but manuals just went to people. Now, in this little box, we don't have that. Every club needs to come up with their system of how they're going to enroll new members into Pathways, into the educational system. But does it make sense for somebody to join Toastmasters and then never join the educational system, to never get the value of actually what Toastmasters does? That seems like a waste of 65 bucks. Like, we've paid for that, but then we're not going to use it. It's our job to figure out how to do that. Now, every club's going to do it a little bit differently. Those clubs that meet in a place, when we can meet in a place, that have fantastic Wi-Fi, you can bring a laptop or a tablet and sit with a brand new member and walk them through how to log into Toastmasters International, how to sign up for Pathways, how to choose a path, go through that whole questionnaire that Toastmasters gives you as it's trying to pick which path is going to be best for you, and then allows you to pick one of those top 3 or one of the 8 other paths that you might want. If we're meeting together and we have great Wi-Fi, we can sit with someone individually and do that. We don't meet individually though anymore. Very few clubs are together in person. Fortunately, we have this platform. We have Zoom. We have Microsoft Teams. We have Facebook Rooms. There are tons of different options out there for how we can meet and how our clubs meet and gather. We still have that option when somebody joins to stick around on a Zoom call or a Teams call or whatever kind of call it is and walk someone through some of those steps. Or you can set up a time that both of you can get together and just walk through it. If you set your settings in Zoom to be able to allow multiple people to share screens, they can share their screen and walk and go through and make the choices. And when they get stuck somewhere, you can share your screen to show where to go. You can share the screens back and forth like that to help somebody get through. That might be the best way for you. It might not be the best way for you. I don't know your clubs. Only you know that. You know what you're great at and what you struggle with as a club. But there has to be a system out there where you are able to create a process to help people walk through and get signed up for Pathways. Does that make sense why that's such an important part of what being a Pathways manager is? Being a Basecamp manager. You can't manage a Basecamp that's empty. We need to get people that are involved and engaged in it. Now,
and I think the challenge is not just the new members, but also the legacy members who aren't comfortable yet.
the perfect segue. Stephanie, thank you for prompting me for that. I so greatly appreciate it.
Sure.
Stephanie is 100% right. And that was exactly where I was going. How many of us have clubs where we have members that are afraid of technology and either are afraid of what Pathways is or are afraid of what the internet is and don't want to be online at all? I know I absolutely have those folks in my clubs. I have a gentleman in one of my clubs that we basically have to send letters to. Like, if finding him is almost impossible, but he comes to meetings on a regular basis, but he doesn't do the internet at all. No internet connection whatsoever. No email whatsoever. Not a thing for him. Until recently, there was no cell phone. It was just a wall phone. So it's, yeah, it's wall phones, I know, right? So there are folks out there that connect in different ways. We need to help them understand this as well. Walking them through step by step, kind of like I just did with how to do Basecamp, walking someone through that way to how to sign up for Pathways is a great way to get them involved in understanding how to go through the process. It can be something you might have to start as basic as this is a mouse. This is how you're going to control the cursor and help them understand how to get through the different things on their computer. Because you got some folks that are just petrified of doing this whole process. Funny story, I actually had somebody that was concerned about Pathways because they thought that Toastmasters was going to read their minds that they thought that Pathways was a way for them to connect right into our brains and that we were going to steal their thoughts and ideas. That was a real concern. I don't know of that to be a real thing, but you're going to have to overcome some of those some of those incredible fears that people have about technology, because it's no longer the paper manuals, it's how we use this. As a district, we haven't been fantastic of getting people enrolled into Pathways. We have a number of club officers out there that aren't even enrolled in Pathways. So it's not just the new members, as Stephanie said, our legacy members, our older members, the ones that have been following legacy program for years and now have to transition over, that are afraid of this. We need to figure out the way that works best for us to connect with them on a personal level to help walk them through and understand where all of this is going. Does that all make sense to why that's important? Yes? We're good.
Yes.
We're on board with that.
I have a question.
Sure. Margaret.
On my computer, I've been trying to go to Basecamp a lot of times, and I've got a lot of messages saying they're working on it and they're working on it. So is there something that happened recently that it's all working now, or was it, is just my computer?
It might be your browser, that there are some browsers that work better with Pathways, with Toastmasters than others. If you go to the basic, the Google browser that we use for most things, that's one of the better ones. Mozilla is pretty good. There's different ones that are good and different ones that we struggle with. If you log on through AOL, I know that one struggled mightily. Safari, if you have an iPad, seems to work really well also.
Scott,
As far as everyone's concerned that's here now, you're not having any trouble getting into Basecamp?
No, Margaret, I'm fine. I actually went in and approved something for Turning Point today. So
Right now, I didn't have any problem getting into Basecamp, but for it to move into the charts, it took probably 15 minutes.
Yes, there are times it's incredibly slow. That is very true.
Scott,
Francisco.
like I said, I'm at work, so I cannot have my
That's okay.
workplace recorded. I will cite, was it Margaret that saw the banners and you will see these things. I mean, this I don't know how many of you are exposed to Pathways, is, as they call it, enterprise level. I saw it around the turn of the Toastmaster year, warning us these things get busy, and yes, they will apply patches. So if you're seeing a banner on top, you just follow what the banner is saying, but what Scott's saying is very relevant. Sometimes you just switch your browser and voila,
Yeah.
you don't wait. I don't know how many of you remember this thing called Java in an older computer. That will make your computer slow down to a crawl. If you're lucky enough to have an iPad or a newer device, that may not be the case, but the banners, Scott, I've seen them. Again, they kind of follow the calendar, like through the month of July, as we were waiting for reports. You will see them come in and out, and that's just telling you maintenance. But if it's not working, try changing a browser. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Francisco. All right, so those are a couple of the big parts that we need to do as Basecamp managers. There's another one here to help members walk through and to be able to use this. So I'm not going to, so I can either log in as Basecamp manager or I can just enter as a member. I'm just going to enter as a member. So if I just go to Pathways, and if you go into Pathways, this is the basic screen you're going to see. Your transcripts, speech evaluations, tutorials, all this sort of thing, your badges, your documents, all that kind of stuff that's here. I encourage you, walk through some of these, even though you don't necessarily need this as a Basecamp manager, can help answer some questions to be able. They've done a really good job over the past year or so of being able to make this more user-friendly than what it was. But there's one part in here that we don't talk about very often, I think is important. Remember when we had CL manuals and we had to complete a CL manual in order to end up earning a DTM someday?
Yeah.
The CL manual went away.
Yeah.
But if you click on your little icon up here, see where I am up here in the top corner? If I click on my face up here, see where I was? Top right here?
Mm.
If I click on that and I scroll down, if I haven't done any of the basic roles in here, this is going to be a little box that I can check beside it. Pathways wants us to go through and be an OG counter, a general evaluator, a grammarian, a speech evaluator, a timer, Toastmaster, and a topic master at some point through our Toastmasters career. It's up to each member then. We don't do it as a Basecamp manager, but each member then goes in and clicks off when they do these things. It's kind of on the honor system that there's some checks and balances you can have if you keep agendas, if you use Easy Speak, if you use Free Toast to make sure that they've done these things. But these are the basic roles that we have within Toastmasters before someone can complete certain levels. So level 5 especially, you have to have done these things within Toastmasters. You only do it once. I've seen where folks have done all of the projects and can't get it to complete, and it's only because we didn't go in and tell Toastmasters, I've been an OG counter, I've been an evaluator, those sorts of things. So know how to get to here, and it's a little bit hidden. You don't really see it that often, but when you click on your individual profile, and then up at the top here, click on your little icon. If you saved a picture, it'll show this up. If not, then it's just usually just the silhouette of what should be a person. Click on that, and that'll show where folks are. This is an important part, though. Valerie, sounds like you're going to say something.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know I was off mute.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I was just thinking it was pretty cool. Okay.
I just heard the, oh. All right, very cool. So we're cool with how to find this, yes? Other thing that's in here that I think is incredibly helpful for all of us as Basecamp managers. How many of you have been to ePortfolio, and how many of you use the ePortfolio function within Pathways? Not many actually are very familiar with this. So this is where we can save all of our written evaluations if we want someplace to save them. If you go into ePortfolio, your documents are here, your badges are here. If you notice on that first screen, when I first went into Pathways on my own individual path, down on the bottom, underneath on the right-hand side, it had documents and badges as well. And we'll go back there to show you an easier way to get to that. But if you go into the ePortfolio, if you look in documents, this is where an individual can save whatever forms they want to. So in level 1, if I'm doing a level 1, I can add a file, I can scan the evaluation form and save it here. If I go into it on my iPad or on my phone, I can just take a picture of it and upload it and save it here, so that I then have a record of my evaluations for future reference. Where can that be important for a member that's of multiple clubs? Do we ever want somebody to maybe show us that they've completed projects?
Does this go back to your verification question earlier?
Yes, absolutely, Francisco. This is where if somebody has saved all of their stuff, they can just pull up their evaluation forms. It's really easy to be able to do and to find this no matter where they are, and be able to show, yeah, I did this speech in this club. I did this speech in this club. I did this speech in this club. I've completed the level, but I didn't do any of them in our home club, but I'm still giving us credit for it. Cool, we get our DCP point for it, and they've gone and they've experienced some other clubs as well. This is a great place for members to be able to save these. The other thing you can save here, remember back when we still met in person, we had those skinny white slips that had places for feedback for speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, Toastmaster, table topics master, general evaluator, and then a place to vote for best speaker, best evaluator, best table topics. Remember those tear-off forms we had back in the day? And we used to get these little slips of paper that people would write as small as possible to write in there. And then either pull out a microphone or take a picture of it with your phone so you could expand it to read what they wrote. You can now, if you want to, you can line all those up on a table, take a picture of them, save them here, and you can have them forever and not have to worry about losing those little pieces of paper. So as a Basecamp manager, helping folks understand how to do those things is really important to helping them understand why Pathways is important and how it applies to their life outside of Toastmasters. Because if you're somebody that's using this to help get better out there and they want to use the feedback they get here to learn out there, this is a great place to be able to then go back and look at what the evaluations were, how they've grown, how they haven't grown, what they still want to work on, all of those things. But the ePortfolio is a wonderful place to be able to store all that information, and it sits on the Pathways server, and you don't have to worry about you changing computers. It's going to always be here as long as you're a member.
Scott, I found
Yes.
out something interesting today. There's a limit on the number of characters for your file name.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that. What is the number of characters?
You know, I don't know, but I had named something and I had been descriptive and it was like way too long. Chopped some things, it was still too long. So it could be, I don't know if it's like 20 or maybe 24, I don't know.
16 works. I counted this.
Okay.
I know 16 works. So you might need to have, you might not be as descriptive as you want to.
Right.
Abbreviations are cool. Keep a cheat sheet somewhere so you remember what the words were that you put in.
Or the words were actually in the title of the document itself. So why put them on that? And that's what I
Yep.
did was I said, oh, I'm being silly.
Yeah. It's a great place to store stuff though. And a great place that if you're trying to find proof that somebody did something, great place to be able to find that information as well.
Scott, it's 5 off,
Francisco.
and I only have a very simple question. Are we
Sure.
going to cover the unlocking of the DTM project today?
No, we are not.
Okay, thank you.
No, we are not. All right. So everyone understands the basics for how to get through here, how to manage this portion also, correct? We're all good with what we've covered so far. Yes? All right. So if we go back to our Basecamp profile, to that front page that we were first on, we first logged into here. All right. When we first logged in, Basecamp profile, about me, all of this information down here is who we are as a whole. Through here, if you want to, you can also, there are reports that an individual can pull for themselves, tutorials, resources, paths, all that kind of fun stuff for Pathways as a whole. When you first log in as yourself though, if you notice on this right-hand side, feedback, badges, documents. The documents is the same place we were in the ePortfolio. They gave a quicker link to be able to get there so you didn't have to remember that it was called the ePortfolio. You can just click on my documents and it takes you to the same places. Badges. Badges are great because it allows, especially with this younger generation, they love to get instant feedback and you can send badges to people for anything that you want. Different generations use this in different ways. I personally don't use the badges for myself, but sometimes we'll send badges to other people just to say thank you for doing a good job within Pathways, within running a meeting, whatever it is. It's a nice way just to be able to get some rewards and being able to send some things there as well. In feedback, you can also request feedback from your club members. So if you gave a speech and you want to get other feedback, and you want people to respond to you, you can send a note to your club and say, hey, I gave this speech last Tuesday. I want to get feedback on that speech because I'm working on this for something bigger. Can you please send me feedback? It can't guarantee they're going to do that. Just like in real life, if you ask for feedback, you're not going to always get it, but it's a way to prompt someone to be able to give you something that you need. Just great tools to be able to use within being able to process all of this information. Now, Francisco mentioned a DTM project. There is, once you've completed two entire paths, there's a capstone project that you have to be able to unlock to get to. I doubt that any of us are to that level within our clubs of having folks that are to that part yet. I wanted this to be a basic understanding so you understood how to go in, how to manage the basics of it, and you could provide your members with a better experience through the Pathways process as a whole. So I'm going to stop sharing here. Are there any questions? Do all of you have anything that you wanted to know about that we didn't cover through any of this at all? No? Nancy, you're
Hey,
good?
Scott.
Yes.
I saw a note that said that as of August 30th, the TI was no longer going to ship the paper recognitions for completion of a path.
Correct.
Is that something that Basecamp managers do as well? Again, we haven't had anybody complete a path in our club yet, but
within the paths, there's as you're managing through and completing things, there's an option in there to be able to print certificates. They are not good-looking certificacates. We used to get, remember, we used to get those really nice card stock, like they were savable certificates.
Yeah, frameable. Yeah.
Exactly. I would recommend that we're probably going to do something on a district level to try to find something that's approved by TI that looks better, because the ones that we get from Pathways really aren't that attractive, and if you're printing them, you have the opportunity that you can print on a cardstock somewhere. But you also have the opportunity you can print on the flimsiest paper possible too. So it's all in how you want to print, how much money you want to spend, what resources you have. You can print someone's certificate and still go and present it to them. Or in this virtual world, you can just email it to them, share a screen like we were doing during all the education segments to say congratulations and do the virtual training or the virtual thank you.
Okay.
Cool. So what else? What other questions do you have? Nancy, you're good? Valerie, I think, Valerie, good? Does this make sense to you now?
Yep, I'm great, and I'm jumping off.
Okay.
Awesome sauce. Me too. Thank you, Scott.
All right, Francisco, thank you.
Bye.
All right. Anybody have any other questions we can answer for you?
Scott,
No?
I've got
Yes.
questions about another session, and I saw that there were some upcoming sessions on the district calendar about being a judge for speech contests, as well as some speech contest training.
Correct.
Do we know what contests besides international that the district will be doing this year? I assume.
Yes,
at
we
least
do.
At the district level, they're all online.
Correct.
I saw that as well, but
We have 100, we know which one we're going to do, but I can't announce it yet.
okay. I just
So yes,
was wondering if that had been announced and if you could share it, if so.
I would love to announce it, but
Okay.
I would be speaking out of turn, and I would rather.
Gotcha.
When will that be announced, Scott? Ballpark?
As soon as we get together as a trio again.
Yeah. It's up to the discretion of the district director.
Correct.
To decide which ones, and a lot of that has hinged in the past, and I know this from prior experience, as Nancy probably does as well, on the budget because of things like trophies and how many nights that you can hold a district level contest in person. The dynamic or the game has changed a little bit with the online contests, but again, you still need people.
Right,
yeah, you still need people to be able to conduct those contests in a fair way across.
I would hope to be able to announce it within the next week.
Okay, cool.
My hope is within the next week to be able to give you some further clarity on some of those things. But
good.
yes, we're doing judges training separate from how to do a contest. I think those are two separate skill sets. And we want to make sure that both of them work out well.
Yeah, we have not quite had judges training as effective as we could have, and I think it's limited in many cases the judging pool and or the qualified judging pool. Right. So sometimes we have to plead with folks who attend contests to be able to judge.
We're trying to do that a little bit differently this year and see what happens.
Okay.
Yep. Other questions? Helpful? You're walking away feeling good about this?
Yes, thank you very much.
Fantastic. I'm so glad this was good for you. If you have questions, call Lou. No, I'm kidding. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. You know where I am. I'd be more than happy to answer questions for you. The goal is to make everyone as comfortable as possible with this so that it becomes, it's easily replaced. It easily replaces the legacy program. That's the goal, is to be able to take the next step forward and not to look back on what we lost, but to focus on what we're gaining through the whole process. So I'm going to stop recording.